Hello everybody and welcome to episode 10 of Quick Test Tuesday here on Sparkling Autos. Now don't be alarmed, I'm not testing all 12 bottles here that you see on the screen. This is the 6 steps of detailing from Autobrite Direct. And in this week's video I'm going to look at step 1 from this kit, which is wheel care. The first product being wheel and tire cleaner, funny enough, and the second being Britegel, which is their gel-like formula wheel cleaner. So we'll start first of all, we'll start with the more traditional sprayable wheel and tire cleaner, which, as I've said at the start, is named rather unexcitedly wheel and tire cleaner. When you look at some of the other products in this kit, products like Clearview and Just a Tonic, you think they could have come up with something a little bit more exciting for the name. But it is what it is, at least you know exactly what you're getting. But of course, I'm only jesting here. A good product does what it says in the tin and doesn't have to hide behind a silly name or just using words from foreign languages. And as you can see here, with the amount of dried on brake dust on these wheels, it's going to be a good test for any wheel cleaner. Two things I'll highlight straight away in relation to this being a sample bottle. Number one being that I'm not going to assess the trigger in any way because it's a sample bottle. That wouldn't be fair on the actual product. And number two would be dilution ratios. So because this is a sample bottle from a sample bottle kit, I won't be diluting it any further. It comes in a sprayable bottle and I'm going to treat it as a ready to use product. So whilst it may be a little stronger than you would normally use for a maintenance wash, this is what we're using today and we're going to see if it can fight through this brake dust as it is. And you may even have noticed just how little product I used from the 100ml bottle. And now that the wheel is fully coated, I'm going to leave it to dwell for a couple of minutes, allow the product to penetrate into the brake dust, and then going by the instructions I'm going to agitate it with a soft brush, and then we'll take a look and see, does this wheel and tire cleaner clean wheels and tires? I should certainly hope so. So as you can see, that looks like it's doing a pretty good job from back here, but I'll bring the camera in a bit closer and just see how little effort is actually required to remove the brake dust that's on here. Bear in mind this was only dwelling for 2 to 2.5 minutes, and as you can see, just with, I'm not applying any pressure on the brush at all here, and look at that, that brake dust is just disappearing as if I'm wiping dust from a counter. Certainly appears to be pretty effective on the wheel faces, so let's set you back here again. I'll crack on with the rest of the wheel face and then we'll get the barrels a good clean, hopefully. So now we're going to move on to the wheel barrels, and I did have the brush just soaking in hot water. There's no soap solution on here, so I'll spray a little bit of the wheel cleaner on, and as you can see here, look at the dirt that's pulling out from the barrel. Absolutely filthy. I think the dirt in that foam speaks for itself, so we'll get this wheel rinsed off and just see what difference it's made. Starting with the tires, and you can actually see the dirt being pushed out. Bear in mind I only went over those with a soft brush, there was no hard tire brush used. We'll get the rest of the wheel faces and barrels rinsed off and take a closer look. Thankfully for yourselves though, I'm able to fast forward my way through most of this. So now that the wheel's rinsed off, we'll take a closer look and see how much cleaner it is. And as I do tend to say, when a product does well, the results speak for themselves. Ignore the bit of foam underneath there that I haven't rinsed out, but just look at how much cleaner that wheel is compared to the start. Absolutely fantastic job, no complaints whatsoever from this product. So that's the first box ticked. Let's see how product number 2 gets on. And now we move on to product number 2, which is Britegel. And so keen was I to use this that I didn't even hold the bottle up in front of the camera. What an absolute amateur. Nor did I remember to put my gloves on, something which I would always recommend if you're using a wheel cleaning product. Safety first. So this one has a bit of a tougher challenge. This is on the front wheel, which is even worse. as your front brakes obviously do most of the work when it comes to slowing the car down and therefore produce the most brake dust. Now you may have seen in the bottle there I used a similarly small amount, however, and again I'm not going to judge it on the triggers, but because of this being a gel like formula it was even more difficult to dispense from the smaller sample bottle. And I'll come back to that in a little second, but what I will say for now is I'm following exactly the same process here as I did on the other wheel with the other wheel cleaner, as in let it dwell for a couple of minutes and then I'm going to go around and agitate it with exactly the same brushes, which I've rinsed out of course. So whilst I'm going through that process, I'll explain the difference between the two products. Now by that I don't mean the chemical difference between the two, I'm not qualified to discuss that in any way, shape or form. But what I will say is to the end user like yourself or me, the difference between the two is obviously one being the gel like formula, you're going to get more of a dwell time with it, should you need it, which obviously has its own inherent advantages. But the downside of that would be, well it's probably more accurate to see, the downside of that could be the actual application of a gel liquid. And I'll explain what I mean in more detail once we've had a closer look at how this one's performing, particularly the fact that it's on the front wheel, which as I've said is creating a lot more brake dust. Whoa, what's happened to the camera? Flip it back around there. There we are. So as you can see here, again it's just removing it with the same absolute effortlessness. Try that again. It's removing the brake dust with practically no effort. There we go, that was better. Considering the amount of brake dust that was on here and the fact that these wheels hadn't been washed for at least 2 months, I think this is doing an absolutely fantastic job for having just 2 minutes dwell time and then being agitated with a soft brush. Or to be more accurate, a soft 99 brush. So I shall set the camera back on its stand and get on with cleaning the rest of the wheel. And for those of you who are interested, every time this happens is because I'm trying out a new gimbal for my phone and there's a button on the front and I keep knocking it, which is switching it between landscape and portrait. I'll get the hang of it, don't worry. But back to what I was saying about the advantages and disadvantages of the gel versus the liquid formulas. Now obviously I know that gel is a liquid, but you'll know what I mean for argument's sake when I'm referring in this video to one of them as gel and one of them as liquid. Well, at least I hope you do. So as I mentioned earlier, the gel formulas can, well, should give you a much longer dwell time, which obviously have their own advantages. But the potential disadvantages of a gel type formula are distribution or application of the product, dependent of course on the trigger design. Now as I've said, I'm not able to assess that in this video. These are sample bottles and the triggers will in no way reflect what you would get when you buy a full size bottle, so there's nothing I can say about that in terms of these products. But in general, gel products can be more difficult to get an even coverage, whereas your liquid formulas do, generally speaking, provide that more even coverage. However, typically don't dwell for as long. Now there's no right or wrong or good or bad scenario here, this is just personal preference. Do you want the product to dwell and sacrifice the potential coverage, or would you rather have a more consistent coverage and you're not really concerned about the dwell time? That's just going to come down to a personal preference thing. As you can see though, both products have done an equally good job in cleaning the wheels, which more importantly in terms of these videos leaves only one question. And if you're in any doubt whatsoever how this one's going to turn out, then I really don't know what you expect from a wheel cleaner, because I had 2 wheels caked in brake dust and both of these products did an equally good job at cleaning them. And I would have no hesitation whatsoever in using either of them again. So next up from this kit is going to be the step 2, which is a citrus wash multi-purpose cleaner and purple velvet high gloss shampoo. Although that probably won't be for a week or two, so if you want to make sure you don't miss that one, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to have your notifications turned on. Other than that, I'd just like to thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and hopefully see you in the next one. Take care.